On today's episode of MULTIPULM Voices, we are continuing our Women in Science series with a conversation that sits right at the intersection of data, trust, and real-world impact. Welcome to MULTIPULM Voices. I am your host, Chris Aguilar, and this is where research meets real-world care. MULTIPULM is a Horizon Europe project working on accessible integrated care for people with multiple chronic conditions in low and middle income countries, specifically Brazil, Serbia, and Türkiye. Throughout the month of February, in recognition of the International Day of Women and Girls in Science, we're launching our Women in Science podcast series, where we spotlight women shaping integrated ethical and implementable science. This series is about visibility, ownership, and leadership, because the future of integrated care is being built by both men and women's voices deserve to be heard. Let's give a warm welcome to Despoina Ntenekou.
So hi, Chris. It's nice to be here.
It's a pleasure to welcome you to the show, Despoina. Thank you for making the time. To get us started, could you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and your role within MULTIPULM?
Yes, sure. So I'm Despoina Ntenekou. I'm a biologist with a PhD in molecular pharmacology and biomedical sciences in general. Over the past years, I work as a project manager and grant writer currently in AINIGMA Technologies, where I also serve as a project manager of multiple projects on behalf of AINIGMA. In a multiple project, we lead the data management and openness activities. We implement fair data mechanisms and tools for data harmonization, the identification and quality control. And this is mainly to support trustworthy AI and digital health solutions in respiratory care.
That focus on trust and real-world application runs through everything that MULTIPULM is trying to achieve. Behind every framework and data set, there's a personal motivation. So we'd like to know, what drew you personally to work on chronic respiratory multimorbidity and integrated care?
As we know, chronic respiratory diseases are complex and rarely exist alone. So integrated care reflects a real life where health is shaped by multiple factors and social conditions. That complexity is exactly where data, collaboration, and innovation could make a real difference.
I love that because it reminds us that integrated care, it's not just a model, it's people's lives. You mentioned collaboration and real life complexity. That's a perfect
Right.
bridge into this series because science isn't done in a vacuum, right? It's done in teams, in cultures, and systems. So for many women, that comes with extra layers. So let's dive a little bit deeper into your lived experience.
I would say that early in my career, I realized that I often had to work harder to be heard in technical spaces. And that experience shaped my confidence and my commitment to inclusive and collaborative leadership.
Thank you for sharing that. And building on it, do you think women approach problem solving in health research differently, especially in complex contexts like with LMICs?
I would say often yes. From my personal perspective, I think that many women naturally take a more holistic and people-centered approach, which I think is essential when working in complex health systems like the low and middle income countries. I would say yes.
Yeah, and even with that strength that women have, there are sometimes still challenges that you face. What are some barriers for women in science today that you think maybe we don't talk enough about?
Main barrier that I would think is maybe invisible work. Coordination, mentoring, and emotional labor often falls on women and is rarely recognized in scientific careers.
Yeah, that's a very important point because many times this invisible contribution is what makes projects succeed, right? And this invisible work it's often about people and impact. So let's shift from what the work takes to what the work actually changes. In a project like MULTIPULM, what would you say impact means to you?
I would say that impact for me is mainly improving real-world decision-making and patient care, not just producing application and tools in general, but changing how actually patients are supported in real-world scenarios.
That's really good. It's impact as change, not just as an output, right? Um, so how would you say your work helps to make sure that innovation doesn't stay just in the lab, but actually reaches the patients and the families that you're trying to impact?
I would say that starting from scratch by designing innovation with clinicians, patients, and health system from the start, where we focus on usability, ethics, and scalability. Solutions are not just innovative tools, but they're actually solutions that are actually implementable.
All right. And when that code design is missing, things can go wrong very quickly, right?
Yes.
What risks would you say we face when health innovation ignores social, cultural, and gender dimensions?
Okay, this is a thing. I think the biggest risk is harm through exclusion, where tools work only for certain population that think amplify bias or fail in real world settings. So ignoring these dimensions undermines trust and can widen the health inequalities as a whole.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. So if it doesn't work for everyone, it's not really impact, it's more inequality, right?
Yeah, correct.
If impact is about reducing inequality, then the next question would be, what makes the science trustworthy enough to scale? So let's go into your world, a bit of AI and health data. And you really sit at the center of that. So the crossroads between AI, health data, and real world care. So who would you say, who or what has shaped your path in artificial intelligence and health data science?
I would say definitely interdisciplinary collaboration, which means working closely with data scientists, clinicians, engineers, showed me how powerful AI could be when it's guided by biomedical knowledge, ethics, and real clinical needs.
That's good framing because it talks a bit about power with guardrails, right? And in Multipulm, a lot of those guardrails come down to data. So why is fair data a foundation for trustworthy science in Multipulm?
Fair data ensure transparency and interoperability and also trust. In a multinational project like Multiple, this is the main foundation that allows knowledge to be reused, validated, and scaled up in a responsible way.
And how would you prevent, or how can we prevent bias and exclusion when harmonizing health data across different countries?
To prevent bias, we try to actively question who is presenting the data, involving local experts, applying ethics, gender aware, and sensitive data governance. So, bias prevention is not just a technical step, it's a continuous process.
I really like this line because it makes it clear that it's an ongoing thing. It's not just a check that you check off your checklist.
Of course.
And I have an important question that will lead us to our next topic. It's one of my favorite questions because I get to see a little bit about what advice you would give to the future. What advice would Despina give to girls who want to enter in the field of artificial intelligence, data, and biomedical engineering?
So, what I would say to the girls is don't wait to feel ready. Your perspective is valued and valuable, and diversity is essential for better science and technology.
That's really powerful. It's exactly what this series, this February, is all about. And this is why it matters because when more girls step into science, the science gets better and the impact goes much further. And looking ahead, what kind of scientific leadership do we need more of in the next decade?
We need leadership that it is ethical, inclusive, and focused on the real world impact.
That's a strong note to end on. But before we wrap up, is there anything, Despina, that you would like to share with our audience or something you feel people should hear more often?
Yes, I would say that it would be nice for all to be involved and shape the future. So I would strongly recommend people to visit our websites and review all the news related to multiple projects and in general projects like involving low and middle income countries. This is a good way to somehow all be part of this impact.
Thank you, Despina. I really appreciate your clarity and the work that you're doing to make sure that innovation is not only smart, but also fair, trustworthy, and usable in the real world. So thank you for joining us and for sharing your story and your work. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you. It was a pleasure for me as well.
To everyone listening, thank you for being a part of this series. If you want to support women shaping integrated care, make sure to follow the Multipulm podcast, Multipulm Voices. Share this episode with your network and explore Multipulm's work, as Despoina said, through our website and social media channels. See you in the next episode.
See you. Bye.
Multipulm is funded by the European Union. Views and opinions expressed are, however, those of the author only and do not necessarily reflect those of the European Union or the European Health and Digital Executive Agency. Neither the European Union nor the granting authority can be held responsible for them.